Hello everyone, and welcome to the English Teacher's Guide to the brand new EDEXCEL GCSE English Literature papers. And today we're going to focus on paper 2, but more importantly we're going to focus on section B part 1, which is the anthology comparison. So, what's the structure of the exam paper? Well, paper 2, 19th century novel and poetry since 1789 is 50% of your exam. The other 50% is made up from the second exam. It's a 2 hour and 15 minute paper, so there's quite a bit to it. The first section is based on your 19th century novel, one extract and one essay, just like in paper 1. And then section B, which is poetry, we're going to focus on the first of two questions. One is a comparison of the anthology poems, and one is an unseen comparison. So, quick question for you to see if you've been revising, see if you know what you're doing. Two things. One, what does the mark scheme say you need to do or include in order to achieve perfect marks? And then secondly, what's the method you should use in order to accomplish perfect marks? So pause this, note down, discuss what you feel the answer should be, and then when you're ready, press play to resume. Okay, so this is the mark scheme. Now it's 20 marks. AO2 is worth 15 marks, your ability to analyse language, form and structure to create meaning and use of appropriate terminology, and you get 5 marks for AO3, which is context. Let's look at the mark scheme very quickly. So the writer is informed by perceptive comparison, so great ideas, not just very obvious things, varied range of similarities and differences, so again, a variety of different similarities and comparisons which are intelligent, perceptive grasp of form and structure and their effect, so you're able to analyse form and structure to an intelligent way, not just make very obvious statements. The response evaluates use of language, so again you're analysing language to a great level, you're using terminology in an integrated and precise way rather than just saying this is a simile. And then you have an understanding of context, and again remember context can relate to what's happening within the poem, not just historically. Now a couple of things to note here. One, you'll notice that actually AO2 and AO3 there's no marks for comparison. However, the chief examiner has said that you must answer the question, which is asking you to compare, so you must compare. So I wouldn't dwell too much on comparison for this question, that's for your next one in the exam. But what you want to do is make your links, say whether they're similar or different, and then get on the analysis and use the context. Again, it also says that you don't have to analyse the poems equally, however you must ensure that both are explored thoroughly. The method I'm going to use is going to make sure there's a balance, because obviously if you're not balanced you will lose marks. Then a method. So, you want to spend about 10 minutes planning and 20 minutes or 25 minutes writing a response. That will take practice. That's quite a short amount of time in order to do this. So planning, you want to read the question carefully, making sure to underline the key parts of it. You want to then read the named poem and note down 3, 4, 5 different answers to the questions. You may want to start analysing form, structure and language at that point, but I'd probably leave it until you finish the next part of the plan. Then, once you've got your answers, think about what poem you could compare it with. Think about which would be the best one to use. And again, if you've been revising, you've got A-star analysis, grade 9 analysis, already lined up. Once you've done that, next to each point you noted down for poem number 1, right next to it, where the poem you've selected deals with this in a similar, a different, or there's maybe a slight difference or a slight similarity, and briefly explain why. And they're your comparisons. Then note down select your 3 best points and go back to the poems. Now start to find the form, structure and language, do the analysis around the poem which you can use in your actual essay. And note that remember that context for this exam isn't just the history, as we said already, it concerns what's happening within the poem. Okay, and then answering, as you can see, now there's different methods here. One, both, use the introduction. Begin with the word both, because immediately it suggests you're going to do the question exactly as it should do. Briefly explain the named poem, how it presents the theme, and use a linking phrase, similarly however, and then briefly state how your chosen poem presents that theme. Then you've got a choice of 2 different methods here. The first method is one I'm going to use, which is slightly more complex, and I think that will lend itself quite nicely to grade 9, although the other method can work just as well. It's PE, but you make your point, you use your evidence, which again could be structure, analysis of form, analysis of language, and again remember you don't have to use all 3 each time, but you must ensure that you explore all 3 aspects at least once in your entire answer, because the mark scheme dictates that. Use terminology, explore how context supports the idea, you might do it all the way through, you might do it at the end. Then use a linking phrase. Poem 2 also uses this idea, however it creates an opposing impression, and you can see you then analyse in the same way, and then you might want to write about which poem you think is doing that better, but you might say the conclusion, which you can see. The alternative method is you analyse the named poem, use all aspects of the analysis listed above. This could be one large paragraph or split into different areas. Then analyse your chosen poem, use all the aspects of analysis listed above, and then a final paragraph which compares the two. That's a little bit clunkier, but at least then you know that you've covered all of the things. But again, I recommend the first one, but it is a little bit more in depth. Takes a little bit more, it's a bit more challenging. So let's have a look at a question. So reread Catherine. Choose one other poem from the conflict anthology. Now obviously we're looking at the conflict section. What we're doing today works in exactly the same way for the other aspects of the anthology. Compare how tension is presented in two poems. So there, we named poem as Catherine, tension is the theme. In your answer you must explore language, form, structure and context, which is what the mark scheme says you need to do. So it's telling you what you have to do. So if you don't read the question carefully, you're going to miss out on marks. Now, I've written down 4 or 5 ideas for the poem Catherine, and then I've noted down my 3 best points. So I've said Catherine, a conflict, so tension is created with the conflict with authority figure. It's presented as a negative thing, and women presented as a figure of tension. I then thought about which poem could I use, and I thought, well, actually, Cousin Kate works quite nicely with this. And you can see I've gone across, and next to each point I've said, right, conflict with authority figure, similar. The speaker has tension with the great lord, but the tension in C, Catherine, is between a mother and child, so there's a comparison. Presented as a negative thing, similar but different. Both highlight the tension whilst in situations explored, but Cousin Kate, CK, has a positive outcome which derives from the tension, so a child. Again, this should all just be in note form. You're not writing this in full sentences because you want to try and do this within 10-15 minutes. Finally, women presented as figures of tension, similar but different. Catherine, a negative relationship between women, difficulty of a single parent family. Cousin Kate highlights negative perception of Victorian society towards unmarried women. So now I've got my points, now I've got my comparisons. My plan method now dictates I need to get my analysis. And here we are. So you can see underneath each of my points, I've now found my evidence. I've now noted down, again, structure. I've now noted down analysis of form. I've got it all covered. You can see I've got point, evidence, analysis. There's my link to Cousin Kate, the second poem, then evidence and analyse again. All I'm going to do now is write that into full sentences, and I've got a perfect mark response. Double check it, proofread it at the end, and we're good to go. Okay, so thank you very much. Keep revising, and make sure you view the second video, which is how to answer this question perfectly. See what it all looks like when it's finished. Thank you, and well done.